You seem really off since you got home from the office, Tracy told me as she was preparing a cup of coffee. She just woke up now because she spent the whole night partying again. I sighed. It's 5 in the afternoon and you just woke up. You have to work on your body clock, I told her as I took my phone out of my bag. Tracy just shrugged and sat in front of me while sipping on her coffee. I unlocked my phone and looked for Sage's number. I'm worried about him. He was burning up a while ago and I just hailed a cab for him. He seemed to retaliate but I insisted on what I wanted. I wonder if he has someone to take care of him in his condo. I wonder if he'd taken medicine now. I shut my eyes and shook my head. No, I shouldn't be so concerned. He surely has his fiancée beside him now. He's surely been taken care of, Julia. Hey, earth to heaven, Tracy said, and I looked at her. She raised her brow at me as if telling me that I am not acting normal. Well, since when had I acted normal when I met Sage anyway? What? I asked and then kept my phone away. She smirked. I have been talking and it turns out you aren't listening, she told me. Are you sick or something? I rolled my eyes and shook my head. I'm not. I'm just... How do I even tell her? I need to get going. I took my bag. I'll be home late. Don't wait up for me. Tracy's eyes narrowed on mine. Where are you going? She asked. I shook my head. I just have to go check on something. She looked at me with a confused expression before nodding slowly. It's as if she's trying to absorb what is happening in front of her. I'm going out tonight though. I nodded and waved. Just lock the doors, I reminded before walking out of my condo. I immediately went to the parking lot and drove to Sage Place. I am not thinking. I don't know what has gotten into me. I don't know if this is the right thing to do. But hell, here I am, standing in front of Sage's door while being flooded by our memories together in this room. I knocked on his door. I'm praying he wouldn't open it. I'm praying that he's already fast asleep. But then, after less than a minute, the door opened, revealing Sage, who's still dressed as he was a while back, with his messy hair. His tired eyes widened in shock as he saw me. Heaven? He asked with his hoarse voice. I pursed my lips in a thin line before feeling his forehead using the back of my hand. I clenched my jaw. You still have fever, I told him as I walked inside his apartment. He still seemed so shocked to see me here because he didn't take his eyes off me. He's still looking at me like there's nothing else to look to but me. I walked straight to his kitchen and placed my bag down. I bought him medicine on my way here. I even bought him soup and other light meals. Sage walked beside me. What? Have you eaten? Or taken your medicine? I asked, cutting him before he could ask me what I am doing here. Because I don't know. I don't know why I am here. I just know that I can stomach thinking that he's sick and I'm not there to take care of him. Sage sighed. No, not yet, he trailed. I slept immediately when I got here, he tried to explain. I nodded and prepared his food. Change your clothes. You should wear something thin and comfortable, I told him. He didn't respond but he immediately went to his room to change. I watched his back as he went inside his room. Damn, I don't know what the right thing to do anymore. I shouldn't be doing this. I wanted to get over him. I wanted to stop everything I am feeling for him. I wanted to forget him, but here I am, inside his place, taking care of him. What irony! I shook my head and convinced myself that this is the only time. This is the last time that I would worry about him. I was just caught up by the situation. I was just, I sighed. No matter how hard I try to talk to myself regarding the reasons why I am here, I couldn't negate the fact that I am here because I am concerned. I am here because I care for him. I am here because I love him. After all these years, I still love him. I heard footsteps come nearer and I looked at the direction where they are coming from. I gulped when I saw Sage walking towards me, wearing a pair of boxers and a wife beater. It's been a while. His body is still the same. He's still toned and perfectly built. His arms flexed as he walked. Damn, stop the thoughts, heaven. You can eat now, I agreed. I am stammering at the sight of his muscle. Damn, he nodded and looked at the dishes in front of him. He pulled a chair and sat as he took the spoon. He tasted the soup and made a sour face. Why? Is it not good? I asked nervously. He looked at me and shook his head. No, it's hot, he replied. I sighed in relief as I pulled the chair beside him and started pushing foods towards him. You haven't eaten since we met this morning, I asked. He nodded. I slept the whole time after the cab drove me here. I bit my lip. Then you should eat a lot. You still have a fever. You need to take your meds too. He looked at me and smiled. With you here, I don't even think I need the meds, he said. I narrowed my eyes at him. He's still smiling, and it's slowly melting my heart. He looks so pale, but he's still damn handsome, and that's making me the weaker person between the two of us. He chuckled weakly. I'm kidding. I'll take them all if you tell me so. I pursed my lips in a thin line while I watched him eat the soup. I can cook if you want more, I told him. He looked at me and shook his head. This is fine for me, he replied. Well, you stay the night? My eyes widened as I looked at him. He seemed so desperate. He seemed so weak. He seemed so in need. How can I even turn that down? I swallowed and nodded. Right now, it's Sage's turn to be shocked. It's as if he was not expecting me to be agreeing with him in a blink. But then he smiled. Thank you, he told me while looking straight into my eyes. I smiled back. If I could tell him that this is where I really want to be, I would have told him long time ago. You have work tomorrow? He asked me as we were in the living room, watching a random movie on Netflix. I looked at him and nodded. I need to review the plates I showed you earlier, I replied. He narrowed his eyes at me. I've already approved that project, he said. What? I asked in disbelief. He smiled and shrugged while he continued to watch the show on the TV. He's trying to ignore me while I was sitting here beside him, so surprised of what he just said. I leaned closer to him and even pulled his arm. What do you mean? I was almost winning beside him that when he looked at me. I pulled him close and he fell on top of me. My eyes widened at the close proximity of his face from mine. His eyes are so close that I can almost see my reflection from his perfect brown irises. His nose almost touched mine as we both stared eye to eye. I bit my lip as none of us moved. I felt like time has stopped. It felt like the world is not moving at all. It felt there was only the two of us. I'm dizzy, but that's because I'm lost in his eyes. Sage looked at my lips. His lips before looking into my eyes again. I miss you, he uttered so softly. I couldn't respond. I am too much petrified about the fact that he's this close to me again. He shut his eyes. God, I miss you, he uttered once again. I miss him too. I miss him so much. I miss him to the point that I could die missing him. I miss him a lot that my whole heart refused to beat for someone else. My eyes went to his lips. I wonder how they taste now. I wonder if they would still bring me wonders and shivers. I wonder if they would still make me weak in the knees. I closed my eyes, and before I could even think of what to do, I pressed my lips on his. One swift smack, but it wasn't enough. I wanted to get a better taste. I missed him so much that the simple pick wasn't enough. I bit my lip before pulling him close to mine, connecting our lips together. I kissed him passionately, and he responded with the same intensity. He cupped my cheek and pulled my head back to give him better access of my mouth. He kissed my cheek as he broke away. What is this, heaven? What is this kiss about? He asked me, almost breathless. I missed you too, Sage, I replied softly before pulling him close to me once again. Sage's lips hovered on top of mine, slowly, like he's taking all the time in the world to savor me. He's being so delicate and careful, and I don't know why it's pissing the hell of me. He removed his lips on mine and looked deep into my eyes. He didn't speak, but his deep brown eyes spoke a million words to my soul, to my heart. His stare is full of emotions that I think I would only want to be lost in his gaze forever. My heart is beating fast as I continued to look at him. I have never imagined that I would look at him this way. I have never imagined how I would be so affected by his deep stare. All those years I asked for space. I've missed you. My voice is so soft that I wondered if he heard me. The sides of his lips rose. All those years you asked for space. I have done my best to look at you from afar, and that made me miss you so bad. Sadness and longing were evident in his voice. Sincerity is overflowing and overwhelming me as I tried to absorb what he said. All those years, he's looked at me from afar. Is that why he posted my graduation march in his Instagram? Is that why he seemed to be present in one of the happiest moments of my life? He smiled wider. That's right, heaven. I was there. He bit his lip. I am so proud of what you've achieved. You deserve everything in the world. My heart swelled at his words. Tears are already brimming at the sides of my eyes. A small lump is forming in my throat that makes it harder to breathe. Staring at him right now, I've found all the reason I need on why I am here now. I've already found every reason on why I couldn't stay away from him. I want to be with him so much, and I miss him. I haven't really realized how much until now. I love him. I don't know how or when it happened, but looking deep into his eyes right now, I already know. I have fallen so hard, crushed big time. I don't think I can ever recover from him. He caressed my cheek with his thumb. Do you hear me, heaven? He asked. I am so proud of you. So much proud that you've achieved what you've dreamed about. I smiled weakly. I haven't. I shook my head. He narrowed his eyes at me, looking so confused about what I just said. I cupped his face and caressed his cheek. I haven't gotten you, I said. I haven't gotten everything that I have dreamed of. His eyes widened as he heard me. He must not have expected me to say that. He must not have thought that I would tell him that he is one of the things I've always dreamed of. In fact, I dreamed of him more than I dreamed of myself being an architect. I dreamed of him more than I dreamed of being accepted in a famous architecture firm. He was my number one dream. I may not have always acknowledged it, but deep inside my heart, he is. He is my priority. Everything I do is for him. Everything I do is about him. Even when I ask for space, I asked it for him. For him to think things through. For him to decide. I planted a swift kiss and smiled sheepishly. I don't even care if he's sick or if we get sick together. This is the moment that I would treasure forever. This is the moment that I will always want to look back to. Sage crushed his lips on mine, giving me a searing kiss. His mouth moved over mine like he's owning every single corner of my small cavern. I started to respond to his kisses and let him take over my mouth. He thrusted his tongue inside, making me moan in the building pleasure. He pulled my neck slightly, making me open my mouth and give him more access. My fingers lingered and played with his hair as I indulged myself into kissing him. He suckled on my lower lip. I moaned for his name once more. His hands roamed down my body. He lifted my shirt and massaged my brassiere-clad breast. His simple touch tingled my whole senses, making my nipples erect and harden. He swiftly removed my shirt over my head and looked at my chest with eyes filled with unadulterated lust. He licked his lip before kissing me on the lips once again. His hands stroked my back, unclasping my brassiere and throwing it over. His huge hand captured my breast and massaged it while his other hand fondled on my other nipple. He covered my nipple with his mouth and suckled on it like it's some addicting candy. I bit my lip multiple times as I felt his tongue rolling over my erected pee. God! I gasped when I felt his mouth on my other, sucking and playing it with his expert tongue. I fested my fingers into his hair and pushed his face closer to my chest. Volts of electricity started to take over my body as Sage continued on what he's doing. Knots of pleasure formed inside my womb as I felt Sage kiss going down to my stomach. His hand found the button of my pants. He unzipped it and slowly brought it down, leaving me only in my underwear. He kissed my thigh sensually and slowly. I gasped with every single kiss he planted on my skin. It felt so surreal. Having him this close to me, having him to kiss me in the parts of my body that only he had ever kissed. It's like a dream. It's like the dream I have always been anticipating. It's like the dream that keeps me up all night. Oh, how long I have dreamed of this to happen again. He hovered on top of me and stared deep into my eyes. His brown eyes are so beautiful as they reflected all of the emotions he is feeling inside. His eyes, his deep brown eyes will always be the best view I have ever seen in this sinful world. He caressed my cheek with his thumb and smiled. I've always wished for this. I've only wished for this. he whispered before showering me with slow and deep kisses. His hand ran down my body until he found my center. His fingers rubbed my aching mound as he continued to kiss me torridly. He then inserted his fingers inside my underwear and started to fondle on my swollen bud. "Sage!" I moaned as I felt him inserting two fingers into my slick hole. "You're dripping," he uttered. "Did you miss me this much?" I pulled my head back and started to moan at whatever he is doing to me. He thrusted his fingers in and out of me as he kissed my jaw and neck. "Baby, tell me," he whispered again. "Did you really miss me this much?" I whimpered in the building pleasure in my womb, unable to answer what he's asking. But damn, I do. I miss him so much. "Tell me," he demanded. "Yes," I replied, almost breathless. He fastened his pace until I could feel the familiar contractions. "Fuck, you came and you're so beautiful." I was already panting hard and was at his mercy, but he's still completely clothed. I want to remove his clothes. I want to see him. I want to see him whole. "You want this off?" he asked, pertaining to his shirt. I bit my lip and nodded. He smirked and removed his shirt fluidly from the back. My heart raced faster as I saw his topless body. His torso that's going to shame the gods in Olympus. His V-line that's going to be the death of any woman who can see him. Everything. I missed everything about him. I immediately locked my arms around his neck and pulled him for a kiss. On my stomach, I can feel his huge and hard bulge. Started to rub my body against his member, earning a feral growl from Sage. "Please," I begged against his lips. He looked into my eyes for 3 seconds until he groaned and pushed me on the couch. He removed my underwear first before freeing his proud glory. My eyes widened at the sight of his aroused member. I've seen it before, but I don't think it was this huge back then. Was it possible for it to grow bigger? I don't know. I didn't have much time to think as he held my ankles and spread my legs wide. "Is this what you want?" he asked. I moaned and nodded. Yes. He positioned himself in my center. For once, I thought he would enter but he didn't. He only rubbed his member against my swollen clit. "Please?" I could hear frustration at my voice. "I want you." I saw him bite his lower lip. "This is going to hurt," he told me as his member started poking on my entrance. I inhaled a sharp breath as I felt the searing pain on my center. I felt like I was being broken down and torn apart. Sage captured my lips and kissed me deeply as he noticed how hurt I was. "I'm sorry," he whispered before crushing his lips on mine again. He slowly entered me until he had filled me to the brim. I was still hurting, but the pleasure was also starting to build up inside me. I moved slowly and it made Sage groan out loud. "Please," I told him. He nodded and started moving in and out of me slowly. I moaned his name when I felt his member touch my sensitive spot. His movements then gradually picked up speed and hit my G-spot over and over again. My nails dug into his back as he thrusted in and out of me. "Oh, Sage, I wasn't able to finish what I was saying because we both convulsed against each other. I'm so sore all over. It was what I feel when I woke the next morning. Flashbacks of what happened last night showered my senses and I could not help but blush. I looked under the blanket and saw that I am wearing a white Hanes shirt and my underwear. Beside me is a sleeping Sage Black whose arms are around my waist. He's topless and only wearing his boxers. I can't help but go at his body under the sheets. Damn! I bit my lip as I looked at Sage's sleeping face. He looked so calm and serene, the opposite of what he is when he is awake. I stared at his long lashes and smiled to myself. This beautiful man is beside me. My heart is slamming against my chest as I remembered how he told me he's proud of me of what I've become. I love you, I whispered to his sleeping face. It felt good to be able to say it to him, even when he's fast asleep. It felt so nice that I don't have to lie to myself now. I love him and he's all I ever want. He stared and pulled me close to his body. I giggled as my face got buried in his chest. I thought he was awake but he isn't. He just pulled me close. I am not complaining though. I love this close proximity. We stayed like this for a moment until he moved and I felt him kiss the top of my head. I looked up to him and he planted a soft kiss on my lips. "Good morning," he murmured against my lips. I smiled. "Good morning." He heaved a heavy sigh before kissing my temple. He hugged me tighter. "You feel so good against me." I bit my lip. I could attest to that. He felt so good against me too. In fact, it felt so good that I don't think I can ever be away from him. "Are you hungry?" he asked. I looked at him and nodded. As a matter of fact, yes. I grinned. He let out a low chuckle before kissing me on the lips again. "Shall we order?" he asked. "I'm pretty sure you're sore now. I don't want to tire you out today." I narrowed my eyes at him. But then I agreed. He's right. I'm sore and I don't think I can cook if he's standing there and watching me. "You don't have to go to work too," he said. I looked at him. "I need to review some plates," I replied. He pursed his lips in a thin line. "I want to date you today. And besides, the plates you're going to review are the plates you showed me yesterday. I've already approved them." I rolled my eyes. He's still the same bossy Mr. Black. What if Mr. Lopez asked me why I didn't go to work? I'll be damned. He chuckled and shook his head. He reached for his phone on the bedside table. He dialed a number before putting the phone on his ear. "Hey, Stav," he called his secretary. "Can you please inform Mr. Lopez of Wright Architecture firm that Architect Campbell and I are going to have a whole day meeting today?" He paused. "Yes, it's going to be an out-of-office meeting." "Yes, thank you, Stav." He hung up and looked at me. "There, done. You're excused for today. You're now free to date me the whole day." He grinned. I rolled my eyes and shook my head. He really has a thing about making people follow his commands. "We're going to the beach," Sage announced as he started driving. He looked so serious as he uttered those words. I looked at him in disbelief. "Are you serious?" He smiled and nodded. "Why? Is it bad to go to the beach now?" I bit my lip and sighed. "It's not bad. I actually miss going to the beach. The last time I visited a beach was when my father was still alive. It's been too long. But I don't have anything to wear," I told him. He laughed and shook his head. "I've got them covered, baby. No need to panic," he said as he continued to drive. I looked at him. "He's got them covered? What does that mean? Did you plan this?" "How?" He wasn't sure I was going to give in to him. He looked at me and smirked. He didn't reply to my question. Instead, he just continued to drive. I sighed and just stared at the streets. I smiled as I saw the buildings. I don't know why they have such calming effect on me. It was such a short drive and my eyes feasted on all the buildings we've passed. Sage pulled over the parking lot. He held my hand and kissed my knuckles. "We're here," he said. I smiled at him and nodded before going down his Range Rover. The smell of the beach immediately attacked my nose and my skin. It felt refreshing. I felt Sage's arm wrapping around my waist. "Do you like it?" he asked. I looked at him and gave him a wide smile. "Yes," I said before giving him a kiss on his cheek. He smiled and bit his lip. "Ah, God, heaven," he muttered, and I laughed. Sage went to the back of his car and opened the compartment. I followed him and saw a picnic basket, a picnic mat, and a huge umbrella. He raised his brow at me. "What?" he asked, trying to suppress a laugh. I narrowed my eyes at him. "You really planned this, didn't you?" He laughed. "Are you surprised?" he asked. I smiled at him. "I am," I admitted. "I'm happy too." "You want to change first?" he asked. "You can go and change first as I set this up." He handed me a paper bag. I took the paper bag and let him prepare on his own. I walked to the nearest restroom. I looked at what's inside the paper bag and saw a blue one-piece suit with a string back. There was also a cover-up and I shook my head. He really did plan this so well. I changed into the one-piece bikini and wore the cover-up. I started to walk where he is. I saw him sitting by the mat under the umbrella while looking at the sea. He's already removed his top and is now only wearing a blue board shorts. I looked at what I am wearing. It has the same shade as the blue board shorts he has. "Ah, damn." I shook my head as I was walking towards him. I saw him look up at me as I positioned myself in the middle of his legs. "Ah, he muttered under his breath as I felt his bare chest on my back. Suddenly, the cloth of the cover-up felt so rough that I want it off so I can be closer to him. Sage wrapped his arm around my waist. He placed his chin on my shoulder. I smiled as I caressed his arms on mine. I intertwined our fingers together. I stared at our fingers before looking at the wonderful beach in front of us. There were also a lot of people in there. Friends, couples, families, and even kids. They are all enjoying under the heat of the sun. "I'm so in love with you," Sage whispered to my ear before kissing my shoulder. I bit my lip as I felt my heart picking up its pace again. I am almost feeling so dizzy as the words started to sink into my system. His embrace tightened around me as he buried his face in the nook of my neck. I can feel his heavy breath on my skin and it sends tingles in my spine. "I've fallen too hard that I don't think I'll ever recover," he whispered again. My whole system is in haywire. Happiness is surging inside me. I can never be contented. I can never be happier than today. I turned to face him and his brown eyes were the first one that I saw. I smiled at him and touched his face. "I love you too." His eyes widened. He looked so shocked to hear those words from me. "I've told you these words when you were asleep, baby. I've also fallen too hard that I don't think I'll ever recover." I closed my eyes and planted a kiss on his lip. I grinned while he was stand in front of me. I'm hungry again, I said as I tried to get out of his embrace, but he tightened his grip around me. No, he shook his head. I want to hear you say it again. I narrowed my eyes at him, but my lips are smiling. What? I've already told you, I replied. You loved me? He asked me. I rolled my eyes as I bit my lip. I wouldn't follow you to your house to take care of you if I don't. He bit his lip, trying to suppress a smile. Since when? He asked. What? I asked, almost laughing. Since when did you know that you love me? I took a deep breath, trying to calm my heart. I feel so nervous that he is asking all this now. I don't know. I looked away. I heard him chuckle as he placed his chin on my shoulder. I knew I love you when you were in the cemetery and your stepsister is about to hit you. I looked at him. I think I have loved him even before that, but I'm not going to tell him that. There's no way I will tell him when, because I wasn't even sure. You're mine now, Heaven. And now that you told me you love me, I'm never going to let you go. I have never wanted anything as much as I want you, he whispered before kissing my temple. I have never been so happy in my life. These past few days, I have been with Sage every after work. He's staying in my place or we stay in his place. Either way, I'm contented. And I think that's one of the reasons why I am performing well in my job. Mr. Lopez even asked how I got Sage to approve the design on the first draft. Well, I couldn't say that Sage approved it because of me, but well, it turned out to be a good thing. Heaven, I think your works are amazing, says Mr. Velasco, one of our clients. I smiled at him. Thank you, sir. If you have any comments or anything I can change from the draft, just tell me so we could meet halfway. He nodded at me and kissed the temple of his wife beside him. We really like your design, Heaven. It has a modern touch in the traditional design. Mrs. Velasco complimented me. I smiled. This house that I designed is going to be their honeymoon place for their 30th wedding anniversary. It is 11 months from now. If we start the building it now, we'll be able to finish it before the deadline. Do you have anything to add, ma'am? I asked. She smiled and told me some things I should modify from the first draft. It was fast and smooth. The couple was so open to suggestions and they both have suggestions too. I headed to my car from the parking lot of the cafe when I heard someone call my name. I looked at the person who spoke and saw Julia looking at me like she saw a ghost. What are you doing here? She asked me in disbelief. I looked at her with narrowed eyes. Hello to you too, I muttered. She rolled her eyes and scoffed. So you're actually an architect? I thought Vina was just kidding when she told Mom about that. I pursed my lips in a thin line. Had I been so happy these past few days that I needed to be assured that I felt annoyed too? You don't have to care, Julia, I told her in a cold tone. And by the way, why would you bother talking to me? She raised her brow and crossed his arms against her chest as she looked at me like it was some kind of a joke. Well, I don't really care. But for your information, Sage's relationship with his family turned sour because of you. I gulped and fested my hands. You know what? That's their problem, not mine. I told her boldly. She pursed her lips in a thin line. I can see her nails flaring. She's fuming mad. And now it's my time to scoff at her. Does your stepmom still throw you at Sage? Does she still hope you're going to marry him? I taunted her. Good luck with that. I smirked before turning my back on her, opening the door of my car. I looked at her and she's still standing there while I revved my engine to life. She's looking at me, enraged and annoyed. I smirked. Even if you have my father's wealth, you still look so poor to me, I told myself as I drove away from the cafe. Miss Campbell, someone gave you flowers. Bethy, the receptionist, smiled at me as she handed me a huge bouquet of flowers. I smiled at her and took the flowers. There was a note and I opened it. For you are the sunshine of my life. I swear I belong to hell but you are my heaven. Can't wait to see you later, Sage. I almost laughed at the quote on the note. But then, I love it when he's being so sweet to me. It makes me feel like I am wanted. It makes me feel secured about our relationship. And that's what matters most to me. Security. You seem to have a happy love life, Miss Campbell. Bethy told me. I haven't noticed that she's been watching me. I smiled at her. I am happy now, I told her before walking to the elevator. I arrived in the office. I arranged the flowers on the vase before slumping into my swivel chair. I sent Sage a quick text telling him that I received the flowers. After a few seconds, he called, "Hey!" I answered his call. "Hey!" His voice is husky, like he's whispering from the other end. I smiled. I got the flowers. I can't help but grin from ear to ear. My heart is fluttering as I stared at the flowers while I'm holding my phone against my ear. This is still so surreal. I don't know if I'd ever get over this feeling with Sage. And he sounded so attentive. I bit my lip and I loved them. I laughed. He chuckled from the other line. Damn, I love his slow chuckle. How about the man who gave you those flowers? He asked. What? I asked. He paused for a while. Don't you love him? I smiled wildly before biting my lower lip. He really has a way with me. Sage Black is going to be the death of my heart. I think I'd have to tell him that when we're together in bed naked. He groaned from the other line. I laughed at him. I know that he doesn't want to get teased on the phone. The last time I did that, he came rushing to my office and we had a good round of sex, but this time, he's in Texas. He's going to ride a chopper back to Chicago later. What? Something to look forward to when we met? I asked, still teasing. Baby, you make me want to fly back there right away, he said in a strained voice. I laughed at him again. So, are you in a meeting? I asked. I was. Now I'm waiting for stuff. We're going to eat, he replied. I want to be starved for a moment, I said. He gets to eat with you all the time. He gets to be with you all the time. He chuckled. Baby, if you were my secretary, I wouldn't be able to work properly. I raised my brow. And why is that? I asked. I've been your secretary and I've been able to perform well. He laughed at me. Yeah, but I needed a lot of strength to stop myself from taking you every time we're in the office. I bit my lip and didn't speak. All I can think of is how I was when I was his secretary. He's right. I don't think we were able to do anything when we were together before. He even takes his chances when we were meeting a client. Baby, he called. I love you. My eyes widened with his sudden confession of love. My heart started to beat fast upon hearing those words from him. I don't think I'll ever get used to Sage Black being clingy and sweet to me. I don't ever want to be, anyway. I love you too, I replied. He stayed quiet from the other line. I was quiet too. There was silence between us, but I feel so comfortable and happy. Thank you, he said. I narrowed my eyes. For what? For being here, loving me, for accepting me, for everything, he said. You don't know how much you make me happy. I can do everything and anything for you. I promise I won't let anyone hurt you. My eyes started to water at what he said. Why is he being so sentimental on the phone right now? My heart feels so overwhelmed. How do you expect me to answer that? I asked, pouting and laughing at the same time. He chuckled from the other line. How about telling me that you want to be with me forever? My eyes widened. Are you asking me to marry you over the phone? I said hysterically. He laughed loudly. No, baby. You're the one who's going to ask me that. I rolled my eyes. We just started dating officially, I told him. I don't know why I am panicking. Is he saying that he wants to marry me? I don't know. What? I don't know what to think. I don't know what to react. Well, when I dated you, I visualized my future and it's going to be with you. So, it doesn't matter if we just started. I want to marry you, but I'm not asking you yet. He paused. I gulped. I'm going to ask you when your defenses are all down. He laughed. I narrowed my eyes at the flowers in front of me. Sage. I want to scold him, but I was laughing too. I love you, Heaven Angeline, he said all of a sudden again. I bit my lip and smiled. I love you too, Mr. Black. I have never wanted anything in my life. I remember when I was in 4th grade, my classmate had a Barbie bag. It was the trend those times. I wanted that. When I was in 11th grade, the whole campus was going crazy over a tour of the most popular band at that time. I wanted to attend that. But right now, feeling the need for Sage, I realized that I've never really wanted those things. A Barbie bag, a concert ticket. None of them made me feel like I was going to die if I didn't have them. But with Sage, it's bad. I wanted him so much that I don't think I'll be able to live without him. What are you thinking? Sage came and wrapped his arms around my waist from behind. I bit my lower lip as I stared at the veranda of his unit. I love the view of the city. I love the buildings. They calm me. Sage placed his chin on my shoulder and planted a soft kiss on my jaw. His hug around me tightened. Baby, he asked in his bedroom voice. I smiled and glanced at him. Nothing, I replied. Do you want to live near the beach? I asked him. He narrowed his eyes at me. Do you want a beach house? I can buy one in Florida, California. I laughed. Really? You're going to do that? I asked. He nodded. Anything you want, Heaven. I smiled and bit my lip. It's too selfish, but I want to stay away from this place. His brows furrowed at me. Did something happen? He asked me. I shook my head and gave him a small smile. I just met Julia last time. Last time? His brow shot up. Last Friday. He narrowed his eyes at me. He then placed his hand on my shoulders and made me face him. What happened? Did they say anything? I pursed my lips in a thin line. How are you and your mother? I asked. His jaw clenched. His eyes turned to me. It's as if I told him something that made him angry or something. I bit my lip. I remembered what Julia told me. After I left, his relationship with his family turned sour. I don't want that for him. As a person who loves him with all my heart, I want him to be in good terms with his family. After all, it's his family. But then, it would be really hypocritical for me to say that considering how I am with my stepmother and stepsister. Did she talk to you? Who, Julia? I asked, confused. No, my mother, he replied. I shook my head. I only met Julia by accident. I frowned. Thinking about how Sage's mother wants Julia for him makes my heart clench. I know for Sage, it wouldn't really matter, but to me, it does. She's his mother. The half of the reason why Sage is born in this world. Not being liked by her for her son is a big slap to my face. He took a deep breath. Look, Heaven, don't listen to anyone, alright? Especially not to your stepmother or stepsister. They want us to break. You know what they did 5 years ago, right? His voice was so authoritative yet so comforting. I looked into his deep brown eyes and nodded. But you should fix your relationship with your mother, I told him. He narrowed his eyes at me. It's as if he's contemplating on telling me something. It's as if he's asking me if I was serious with what I just said. She's your mother, and you not being in good terms with her? I don't like it, I told him. He pursed his lips in a thin line. I can't be in good terms with her if she continues to push me to the girl I don't love. I stared into his eyes as he told me those words. He sounded so angry and frustrated. But above all, I can see how he loves his mother. Your mother is just thinking about what's best for you. I don't know why I am trying to defend his mom, but I am. Or maybe because I don't have a mother. I have never experienced having a real mother. I know the feeling of losing one, and I don't want Sage to feel that way. I can't let him experience the emptiness inside me. I can't let him experience that certain void in my heart in the place of my mother. What's best for me is having you beside me, he said in a soft voice as he enveloped me in his arms. I looked up at him and smiled. I've never had a mother, Sage. I have a stepmother, but she was never a real mother to me. The closest thing I had was Nanny Grant. I started. And I have to tell you that it doesn't feel really good. There's this emptiness in me that's always going to be there, and it can never be erased because that spot belongs to my mom. Sage looked at me with serious eyes. I cupped his face. I don't want you to experience that too, I uttered as I brushed my thumb against his cheeks. So, I want you to fix your relationship with her. She's your mother. I will always be grateful to her for bringing you in this world for me to meet, for me to love. I smiled. What if they try to break us up again? I don't want that to happen. He shook his head. I pursed my lips in a thin line. I won't let that happen, Sage. Baby, you took time away from me for 5 years. I can't afford another half a decade away from you. I'll officially go insane, he said with sadness in his voice. I smiled at him. I know what he felt. Those 5 years were the hell years of my life. Every day of those 5 years, all I'm thinking about is age and our future together or apart. I don't know. I didn't have any idea of what he's doing. I didn't check up on him. I was afraid. I was scared to see that he's already married. I was scared to see him happy with somebody else. I was scared to see that he's moved on while I was still holding on to that faint sign of hope for us. But I wouldn't say I regretted those years. As a matter of fact, I am happy for those 5 years. I am happy that those 5 years happened. I accomplished everything I wanted. I accomplished my promise to myself. It was my time for my self-actualization. It was my time for myself. I believe I had reached my goal. I am an architect now. I am not just a mere secretary or an ordinary person struggling in life. I won't leave you now, Sage. No, I shook my head. Even when everyone's trying to keep us apart, I won't leave you. I won't let that happen. No. He took a deep breath. You don't know my mother, Heaven. I smiled. But you know me, Sage. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to let anyone, not even your mother, break us apart. But I placed my index finger on his lips. No buts. I'm not ever going to leave you. Ever. Unless you want me to. I told him affectionately. I love you, he said before pressing his lips on mine. And with everything you just said, I think I have fallen in love with you more. I love you more and more every minute and every second. I smiled wider and wrapped my arms around his neck. I pulled his face on mine so I could kiss him passionately. He smiled through the kiss before deepening the kiss. His tongue swiped my lower lip before thrusting inside my mouth. His hands caressed both sides of my waist as I pulled him even closer. I woke up with Sage talking to someone on the phone. His bare back is facing me and I can't believe I get to see this every day. No, he took a deep breath. It seemed like he's angry at someone on the other line. I sat up and waited for him to talk to whoever's on the other line before speaking. I am going. I want to go, he said in an authoritative voice. I have to talk to my parents about something. No, I'm not marrying Julia Campbell. I don't care. He washed his face with his hand and let out a frustrated sigh. Look, Stav, I need to tell my parents something. So yes, I will attend that damn event with Heaven. It's about time I met them anyway. He opened the curtains and suddenly turned to me. His eyes widened when he saw me sitting in bed, already awake. He took another deep breath. All right, that would be better. Thanks, Stav. I gotta go, he said as he walked towards me and threw his phone on the bed. He sat right in front of me and gave me a sweet kiss. Good morning, he said in a husky voice. How long have you been awake? He asked. I smiled. A while. He smiled back and placed loose strands of my hair at the back of my ear. Well, meet my parents tonight, he said. I looked at him with narrowed eyes. Really? He nodded. There's this event in Dad's company tonight. It's an auction, he said in a serious tone. I smiled and nodded. All right, sure. I shrugged. He raised his brow at me. What? I asked. He smiled and pulled me close to him. Promise me you'll never leave me again, he whispered. I smiled and hugged him tighter. I promise, and I mean it. When I said I wanted Sage to be in good terms with his parents, I didn't expect him to bring me to the biggest event of the year for his dad's company. My heart is pounding in my chest as I walked out of Sage's car. We're in front of the most prestigious hotel in the whole of Chicago. Sage came up to me and wrapped his arm around my waist. You okay? He whispered lowly while his lips brushed against my ear. I smiled at him and nodded. Yeah, I'm also a bit uncomfortable. My heart feels like it's going to leap out of my chest with every step we took. I could only remember the last time I met his mother. It was the time that I walked out and resigned verbally in front of her and my stepmother and stepsister. It was tragic. I believe that she would never forget that, especially now that Sage's relationship with her is ruined because of me. I tried to shake all my thoughts away as we both entered the hotel to the event area. The door opened and all eyes were on us. I am wearing a long sleeveless silver gown with a deep V on the neck. My hair is down with curls at the ends. Sage, on the other hand, is wearing a black three-piece Armani suit with a metallic silver tie. Cameras flashed in front of my eyes as the reporters and all the people from the media flocked towards us. Recorders and microphones were suddenly in front of us. Mr. Sage Black, it is so nice to see you here after the feud you had with your parents, one reporter said. How are you with your parents now, Mr. Black? Who are you with right now? Is she your girlfriend? Sage's jaw clenched as his arms tightened around my waist. This is Architect Heaven Angeline Campbell, my girlfriend, he replied crudely. Out of all the questions thrown at him, he chose to answer that. Are we going to hear wedding bells soon? Another reporter asked. Sage pursed his lips in a thin line. I hope so, he smirked as he looked down at me. I narrowed my eyes at him before letting him pull me out of the spotlight. We passed by a lot of elite-looking people before Sage stopped in a table where three men his age. Dude, the man with a slick black hair wearing a maroon suit called Sage. Sage high-fived him before pulling a seat for me. Porter, he nodded at him. He let me sit first before greeting the other two guys. Chad, Miller, he nodded at the other two guys. Miller, the one in a gray suit with green eyes, smiled at me. I'm guessing you're the girlfriend. He smirked at me. I bit my lip and was about to answer when Sage suddenly wrapped his arm around my shoulder and pulled me closer to me. Yes, she's my girlfriend, Miller. You got a problem with that? Chad, the one with an ash blonde hair and black suit, laughed at Sage. Damn, whip, he chimed, making the other two laugh at Sage, who's obviously so pissed at them all. Sage glared at Chad, but he was unapologetic. Miller shook his head. Dude, I'm not even looking at her. He laughed. Sage rolled his eyes. This is Heaven Angeline Campbell. Heaven, these are my cousins, Porter, Miller, and Chad. I nodded and smiled at all of them. Nice meeting you, Heaven, Miller said. Nice to meet you too, Miller. Porter and Chad also introduced themselves to me. Chad even attempted to shake hands with me, but my hand was yanked away by Sage, making them all laugh at him again. So these are his cousins. I'm guessing they already know me by the looks that they are all giving. I bet they all knew about my history with Sage's mother. I'm guessing they all know how I am related to Julia and Josephine. They didn't ask, but their looks say so. Porter smiled and turned to Sage. Anyway, you're here. This is really miracle, he uttered. It's been years since you went to an event for your parents. Sage glared at him and squeezed my hand. You know why, he replied curtly. Miller smiled at me. Heaven, you got our cousin wrapped around your fingers, huh? He raised his brow. I bit my lip and then looked at Sage. He smiled at me before planting a quick kiss on my lips. Ah, I don't know if it was Miller or Chad that cursed, but this surely sounds like he was disgusted or something. Sage smirked at his cousins and let them give him disgust looks. I threaded my fingers with Sage as I smiled at how he interacted with his cousins. He looked so warm and comfortable with them. It makes me actually feel relieved that there are still people that are making his life a little bit less stressful. I haven't really thought about this side of his family. All I wanted was for him to be okay with his parents. But right now, I'm more than happy to have met his cousins. The feedback from the microphone made us all stop and look at the stage. The master of ceremonies was in the podium, testing the microphone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. He greeted all of us with a wide smile. Welcome to the annual Herman Black Group Jewelry Auction. The collections to be presented tonight will be the newest design from the state-of-the-art GHB Incorporated. Everyone clapped. But before everything, I would like to present to you Mr. Herman Black, the CEO of the Herman Black Group of Companies. The curtains opened and revealed a man in his mid-50s, wearing a platinum white coat and a butterfly necktie. He looks like Sage, but that's not all. He also has Sage aura. Or maybe it was the opposite. Sage got his powerful aura from him. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Herman Black started. This year's jewelry auction is going to be the biggest yet. The collection we will be auctioning are the best that our designers have designed yet. In addition, 70% of the money collected will be donated to the chosen foundation this year, the Cancer Society. Everyone clapped in awe. I also did. They are giving away 70% of the money collected to a foundation. It's a huge help, to be honest. I looked at Sage and he's only looking at his father intently. He wasn't fazed or amazed. Well, I guess he's watched his father do this speech a lot of times. Mr. Herman Black continued on his speech as all the attentions were on him. Sage glanced at me and squeezed my hand. He leaned close to my ear. Are you good? He asked. I smiled and nodded. He bit his lip and took a deep breath. The people clapped. Mr. Herman Black was already leaving the stage. Waiting for him down the stage is his wife. He smiled at her and kissed her cheek. I smiled. They look happy together. I'm sure Sage was loved and taken great care of looking at his parents now. I wish I had seen my mom and dad this happy. Were they this in love when they were together? I hope so. The master of ceremonies started to show off a jewelry line. The first on the stage was a set of jewelry made with white diamond. Lined with their laces are pieces of small diamonds extracted from a 10-carat diamond. The starting price is $100,000. The bidding starts now. The master of ceremonies signaled $125,000. One man from the eastern side chimed, 127,000. I looked at Sage, and he's only boringly looking at the glass of wine in front of us. He doesn't seem interested in the bidding. Don't you want it? I asked him. He looked at me. Do you want it? He asked back. I furrowed my brows at him. No, but I think I would want to help. I shrugged. I looked back on the stage and started to think of how much I could give for the patients in Cancer Society. I want bracelet. I'll try to bid when there is one. But this auction started with a jewelry set. I believe the next ones are going to be on the next level. Sage suddenly pulled me close to him. I looked at him and saw him staring down at me. What? I asked. I love you, he whispered. I looked at him with narrowed eyes. Okay, that was random. But why is my heart fluttering like a silly seal? He smiled at me. I just thought I needed to say that, he said before kissing my forehead. I smiled. I couldn't stop myself. The emotion he's making me feel are too much. I don't even know if I can handle them all well in a public place like this. $900,000. The master of ceremonies asked the crowd. Is this the final bid? He asked again as he scanned the whole crowd. Sage wrapped his arm around my waist before raising his hand in the air. $1.5 million. Sage shouted. Everyone's eyes went to his way. Even mine. I looked at him in disbelief. He just smiled and kissed my lips with everyone's eyes watching. I told you I love you, he said before getting the last bid. Is he even serious? Sage was called on the stage to say a few words regarding the bid he just won. He seemed so intimidating on the stage, but he looked so good up there. It was as if he was born to rule an occasion like this. You are the son of the owner of the Herman Black Group, am I right? The master of the ceremonies asked Sage. Porter, Chad, and Miller are giggling on their seats while I was busy watching Sage get applauded and cheered on stage. Sage's serious face makes me smile. He seemed so intense. Yes, he replied curtly. May I ask, who will you give this jewelry to? The MC asked again. Sage looked at the audience before looking our way. When his eyes met mine, my heart immediately beat erratically. He smiled at me and I couldn't help but smile back. There's just something in his smile that makes me feel at ease. It's as if I'm looking at my home. It's as if I am looking at my heaven. He took the microphone and bit his lip, not taking his eyes off of me. It is a pleasure to be standing in front of all of you, in the middle of the event. I seriously thought I would never see this day, because as I look in the eyes of the woman I love, This all feels so surreal. Everyone kept quiet. My eyes flickered when the spotlight went to me. I wanted to hide my face behind my palm, but it's too late. All eyes are on me now. The first time I looked at you, I didn't know you'd be the only woman I would want to be with. You were plain. You were so simple. I didn't know what I was looking for in a girl, but I was so sure you aren't it. My eyes narrowed at him as I heard what he was hearing. What is he saying? His cousins looked at me and smiled while I looked back at them with confusion written all over my face. I can't believe he's doing this. Porter laughed. The other two just laughed with him while shaking their heads. They all seem like they don't believe anything about this at all. My eyes went back to Sage, who's still staring at me like I'm the only thing that's worth looking at. My heart is beating crazy. My head is spinning inside. I couldn't think. I couldn't know what to think. But you've showed me a lot of things. Things that I thought were non-existent. Things that I thought were not meant for me. Sage started walking down the stage towards me. My eyes widened at what he's doing. What the? What is he doing in front of all the elite people? I felt frozen when every step he's making towards me. This time, I don't think my world is spinning. I can't see anyone else. All I see is the man I love who's walking towards me right now. Sage smiled at me, but I can see how red his eyes are right now. Is he crying? When I was in Texas, I've come to a realization of how much I hate it to live without you. I hate going on business trips because that would mean I'd leave you here. And imagining how other men would line up for your attention when I am not beside you makes me crazy. He took a deep breath. So I had made up my mind. I don't want to spend months without you having my surname. My hands flew to my mouth when I saw him kneel down in front of me. I could hear some gasp from the people watching us. I didn't care about that. All I care about is this man who's on his knee in front of me right now. I have imagined being married to him. It was my dream. It was what I wanted to do. It was what I've wanted. I wanted to spend the rest of my life with the man I love. And that's Sage Black. Sage. My voice shook as I felt the tears falling down my face. I've always thought that the women who are crying when receiving marriage proposal from their significant others are just overreacting. I don't see anything so emotional with any man who's down on his knees, professing his desire to spend the rest of his life with the woman he loves. But right now, I take all of my doubts. My heart feels so full of overwhelming emotions. It's so full that I think it's going to burst any moment now. It's so full that it makes it so hard for me to breathe. He looked at me, smiling even though his eyes are sparkling because of the forming tears. Heaven, I don't know what to do without you. Every time I am not with you, I feel so unsafe. I feel so insecure of all the men around you. If I could only stop them from coming to you, I would have. He laughed lightly. I don't want to live with these doubts every day for the coming months. I want assurance. I want security. I bit my lip as I looked at him. People are starting to whisper some gossips to each other. But then, it all doesn't matter to me. Nothing matters to me now other than Sage and his words. I want security that one of these days, you'll be mine. That I would never go home to an empty house again. That would never ever eat alone on the dining table again. That would never sleep alone in a huge bed. I want that kind of security, baby. I want a security that you'll always be with me, that you'll spend the rest of your life as my wife. Sobs came out of my mouth as I listened to his speech. I didn't know Sage has this side of him. I knew he was romantic, but I never knew it would be to this extent. I remembered when we talked on the phone while he was in Texas. He said he would ask me when all of my defenses are down. And he's won. Right now, he's done it with all of my defenses down. Heaven, I wish I knew your parents so I would have asked for their approval. I wish I knew them so I would have told them how happy you make me, how you are such a perfect woman for me, how you are the only woman I would love. I wish I knew them so I'd proudly tell them how much you mean to me. I wish I knew them so I'd be able to tell them how you've grown into such a responsible and fine lady. Even when you grow up without a mother, and you endured the hard times without a father, you're the strongest person I know in this world. You didn't go on with hatred in your heart, and that's what I love about you. You're just too pure that I think I am too tainted, too stained for you. I shook my head and held his face. You're perfect for me, I said, sobbing. He smiled at me. I'm stained. I'm not perfect. I easily get jealous, but I promise you, I will try my hardest to make you the happiest woman in the world, to at least give you an idea of how you complete me. The happiness is filling my whole system. I don't know how to contain them all inside me. I love you, I told him. He smiled wider. I love you too, baby, he replied softly. Will you marry me? He asked in almost a whisper. I chuckled and smiled widely. Of course, I will. I almost squealed as I threw myself at him. I don't mind if all of them are watching. I want to hug Sage so tight, so he'd know that I will never ever let go of him. Ever. I heard him chuckling as he hugged me back tighter. You don't know how happy you make me, he whispered before kissing the side of my head. You make me so happy too, I replied as I buried my face in the nook of his neck. I hugged him and cried as I felt a cold metal sliding onto my left ring finger. I pulled away from him and looked at what he just slid on my finger. My eyes widened as I saw a gold band with a small diamond on top of it. This is not the ring in the auction. I'm so sure of it. This is simpler. This is more of my style. I looked at Sage in disbelief. Did you really plan on doing this tonight? I asked him. He nodded while biting his lip. Oh, Sage, I beamed as I planted a soft kiss on his lips. Tears streamed down my face as I looked at the ring again. Sage carries my finger with his thumb while his other hand is trying to wipe away my tears. How can you be this romantic? I asked, laughing and crying. I don't know anymore. I heard him laugh before I felt him kissing my forehead. How can I not be romantic for the woman I love? He asked me, and it only made me cry in front of him, of everyone. For all of my life, I have never imagined that I would have a man as perfect as Sage. Sure, he's flaws, but he's perfect for me. I may have saved a nation in my past life to deserve this kind of fortune in this life. Sage carries my face and lifted it so he could see my eyes. I don't even know if the words are enough to let you know how much I feel for you, he said before leaning down, kissing me deeply in front of the whole elitist crowd. I smiled and welcomed his mouth on mine as I responded to his kiss. He suckled on my lower lip before letting go. "Let's get out of here now," he said, and I nodded. He threaded his fingers with mine as he looked at his cousins who are laughing while staring at us. "That's all?" Porter asked. "Yeah, man. I thought we'll be having a live show as a special treat tonight," Miller beamed. Sage glared at him. "Shut up, fucker," he hissed as he took my purse from the table. "We'll go ahead." Chad shook his head. "I wish you could reach the nearest hotel or something," he uttered. Sage gave him one last glare before pulling me to him, leaving everyone in this building. "Where are we going?" I asked Sage as he pulled me into his car. We left the party without even talking to his parents. The reason that we went there is because I wanted him to reconcile with his mother, but his proposal happened. And now we're here, inside his car, driving away from all of the commotion. "My place," he replied as he buckled my seatbelt. He looked deep into my eyes and smiled. "I want to own you now," he said in a husky voice. I bit my lower lip to prevent a smile from coming out of my lips. His husky voice turns me on every time. His deep looks set my heart on fire. I lost. I lost in this. I can never win over his dominance in this aspect. I nodded and he immediately drove away. At first, I thought we were going to his place just like what he said. But then, he pulled over the nearest five-star hotel on our way. I looked at him, confused. When he unbuckled my seatbelt, he smirked at me. I changed my mind. "I can't drive that far with these kinds of thoughts in my head," he said as he stepped out of the car. I saw him give his keys to the valet before walking to my side of the car and opening my door. He took my hand and escorted me inside the hotel. I can see how the receptionist's eyes twinkled as they looked at Sage. They only stopped looking when Sage pulled me closer by the waist. One of them even had the guts to roll her eyes at me. I just shrugged and looked at Sage. "One room," he said as he gave the woman his gold card. Immediately, the woman gave Sage his car. The hotel room's key card with the room number. He pulled me towards the elevator. The waiting was so long. I was hot and bothered. I couldn't wait to get inside the room and let him do everything he wants to with me. When we reached the right room, he immediately opened the door and pinned me against it. His lips immediately crashed into mine while he caressed my jaw. I opened my mouth to give him wider access and wrapped my arm around his neck to pull his face closer to me. I moaned through the kiss as I felt him thrusting his tongue inside my mouth. I gladly accepted him and kissed him with equal intensity. "Oh, Sage," I moaned as his hands roamed down my chest, down to my waist. "Baby," he moaned back before rendering me hot kisses on the mouth again. I kept on moaning through the kiss as my system was on alert level for all the emotions he is making me feel right now. Sage cupped my breast and I moaned inside his mouth. "Please," I muttered as I felt his kisses traveling to my jaw. Please what? He asked in such a hot and husky voice. I moaned once more. Take it off. He breathed heavily before reaching for the zipper of my dress behind and slowly pulling it down. I was growing frustrated and I think it's what he wanted me to feel too. So I tried to push him so I'd be the one to take my clothes off. No, baby, this is my face now, he said as he pulled my face to kiss me fully on the lips again. I kissed him back as I tried to remove his tuxedo. He moaned loudly when I accidentally touched his growing member. After removing his suit, I pulled him closer and kissed once again. I nibbled on his lower lip and got confident when I heard him moaning. I liked it when I kept him satisfied. He groaned out loud before loosening my dress roughly. His eyes are fiery and full of lust as he looked at my bare chest. He leaned down and took one into his mouth while the other kneaded my other breast. I feasted on his hair and arched my back in pleasure. Sage! I moaned out loud as I felt his tongue rolling over my erected nipple. Lust and sex are flying in the air as he took my other and suckled on it. His expert tongue is giving my system a hard time. I want more now. I want him now. His free hand roamed down my stomach and he inserted it inside my lace panties. The moment his fingers touched my clit, I automatically whimpered his name. The sensation it gave me sent my mind in haywire. He massaged my clit, making all the butterflies in my stomach fly, causing ruckus inside my body. You like that? He asked me. I nodded and couldn't find a way to speak. Baby, you like that? He asked again. I nodded again as the movement of his fingers intensified. Sage! I whined as I felt his finger tasting my entrance. He chuckled slowly and removed my dress and underwear in one swift motion, leaving me only in my pumps. Spread your legs, he commanded. I did what I was told, but my eyes widened when I saw him kneeling down in front of me, positioning his face on my core. I leaned on the door as he kissed my core. His tongue glided in and out of me together with his finger. I held his hand for support while he did wonders with his tongue. Oh my God! I gasped as he licked my core while his finger thrusted into me faster and deeper. I felt something forming in my womb while I bit my lip with what he's doing. I arched my back as I convulsed when I felt my juices exploding into his mouth. I looked at him and cupped his cheeks while I asked him to stand. Don't do that again, I told him. He smirked. You don't like the position? He asked back. It's embarrassing, I replied. He wrapped his arms around my waist and pulled me closer to his body. Too bad. I like kneeling down and kissing you there in that position, he said before kissing my forehead. You taste so sweet, heaven. He crushed his lips into mine again before holding my bottom to support me as I straddled him. I wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed him passionately. He walked towards a door, which I think is the room. He slowly laid me on the bed. I looked at him and watched him as he took his tie and shirt off. He unbuckled his belt and removed his pants, leaving him only in his boxers. I can see how huge he is from here and I cannot feel anything but anticipation. He kissed me fiercely as he kneeled on the bed. I touched his member and heard him groan so loud. I placed his boxers down, freeing his huge length. I cupped his member and caressed it like how I remembered to do before. "Oh, fuck, baby," he growled as he pushed me on the bed. He kissed me hard once again as he spread my knees and positioned himself in between me. He placed my leg on his shoulder, stretching me even more. He sucked my nipples as he caressed my clit. "Goodness, Sage!" I moaned out loud when I felt like I was coming again. I jerked once more as I felt my juices exploding in my womb. Sage looked at my core and bit his lower lip. "You're dripping again," he said as licked my juices off. He licked me several times before feeling his member on my entrance. He kissed me passionately as he inserted himself in me. I whimpered with the pain it caused me. Sage apologized over and over and didn't move until I was used to his size. "Please," I cried when pleasure already took over me. I moved under him and stilled me. He looked into my eyes. "Are you sure, Heaven?" he asked. I nodded and started moving once again. He kissed my neck and I felt him moving slowly, in and out of me. I pulled him closer, making him go deeper inside me. "You're so tight," he whimpered as he fastened his face. I moaned his name and just focused on the sensations that he's making me feel. He slammed his throbbing member in me, touching my sensitive spot over and over again. Beads of sweat formed on my forehead as he continued to grind in me. "Look at me when you come," he ordered as he slammed hard and fast. I forcefully opened my eyes and immediately found Sage's dark orbs. I looked at him as he took my body by storm. "I'm coming," I whimpered. "Come with me." His husky voice seemed to be the trigger in me. I convulsed under him as we both exploded inside me. "I love you so much," he whispered before kissing my temple. "I love you too, Sage Black." I woke up to my phone ringing on the bedside table. Sage's arms are around me and he's deeply sleeping. I smiled to myself before kissing him softly on the cheek. I slowly removed his arms around me and got up to answer my ringing phone. It was Tracy. I looked at the clock to check and was surprised to see her already awake at 7 in the morning. "Hello," I answered as I slowly closed the door to walk towards the living room. "Is it true?" Tracy was already squealing from the other line. I bit my lip. "What's true?" "That Sage Otius Black proposed to you in front of everyone in his father's event." I smiled. "So the news about that got out so fast, huh?" I almost forgot how many reporters were there to harass us with questions last night. "Are there pictures?" As I asked. "Yes, they're all over the news. Mom and Dad are surprised. Genius and I are so excited. For you." She sounded really excited as she relayed those words to me. I smiled. "Thanks, Trace. Mom and Dad are so excited to meet him. Dad is already arranging a family event, probably tomorrow night." "What?" I asked in confusion. Tracy laughed. "Uncle Harvey event contacted Dad moments ago. He's asking if Dad knew about you and Sage Black." She giggled. "Why didn't you tell us?" I took a deep breath and leaned on the bar of the hotel room. "Tracy, it happened so fast. We knew each other years back when I worked for him." "So you mean you've been together for more than 5 years?" I laughed. "We knew each other for more than 5 years, but it's too complicated. I can't explain it over the phone." I told her. Well, you have to compose yourself now because I'm going to ask everything about it when we met at the dinner my father is arranging for all of us. I laughed and just shook my head. Of course, Trace, I'll tell you all about it when we have the dinner, I said. But I'll have to ask Sage when he's free because he's too busy with meetings and paperwork these days. He has to come. He has to cancel everything. She beamed. I laughed again. All right, I'll tell him that. You should. Genius is going to call you any minute now too. But I couldn't follow through her words anymore because I felt Sage's hands wrapping around my waist from my back. He leaned his chin on my left shoulder and kissed my cheek. Good morning, he whispered in a husky tone. I smiled at him and pointed at my phone. He pursed his lips and stared into my eyes. Are you listening? Tracy asked me from the other line. Ah, yes, Trace, I lied. You should tell him to come or else, she threatened. I chuckled. Yes, we'll be there, I told her so she'd stop probing. Good, now I have to go. I am late for class, she said. Bye, Heaven. Love you. Love you too, Tracy, I told her before ending the call. I looked at Sage, who's looking at me with narrowed eyes. Who's that? He asked. My cousin Tracy, I answered. He nodded. What did she say? He asked as he threaded his fingers with mine. I looked at our intertwined hands. Well, they saw the news of your proposing to me. I started and he kissed my cheek. She told me that Uncle Henderson's arranging a dinner for me to formally introduce you to my family. He stilled on his spot. I looked at him. What? I asked with a narrowed eyes. He shook his head. I just realized that I never had met with a woman's family. I looked at him, confused at what he's talking about. He looked at me with a small smile cracking from his lips. I mean, I've never been introduced formally. I smiled at him. So that's what he's thinking about. He's nervous that he's going to meet my family. He's going to be kidding me. They won't eat you. I laughed at him. He narrowed his eyes at me. I know. I laughed again. Then stop acting like they won't like you for me, I said as I cupped his face. He pursed his lips in a thin line. What if they won't? He asked in a bitter tone. I shook my head and kissed his lips. They will like you, I assured him. How sure are you? He asked, still in doubt. I took a deep breath. Well, 1, you're Sage Black. 2, you're the one I love. 3, you make me happy. He narrowed his eyes at me again. How would being Sage Black be the reason on why they would like me? He asked. I laughed and shook my head. You're a very good entrepreneur. You know a lot about business. He looked at me again. I laughed. They're going to love you, he sighed. I just hope my personality won't get in the way. I raised my brow. Are you going to be intimidating in front of them anyway? I asked. He rolled his eyes. Of course not. Then you're good. You only have to impress them and I think you'll do a good job in that department. You're just saying that because I am your fiancé, he said. Oh my goodness, how would I even boost this man's confidence? Well, maybe I am, but I am also saying this because I believe that they would like you. My uncles are nice persons. Yes, I know Henderson and Harvey Mendez are nice persons. I also know that they are unforgivable to people who had hurt them or their family. I narrowed my eyes at him. Then, how are you something unforgivable? He shrugged. My mother harassed you. Your mother, not you. Alright? Are we cool now? I held his arms. He sighed and nodded. They'll like you, so you better be looking for something to wear during the dinner tomorrow night. It's already tomorrow? He asked in disbelief. I nodded. He muttered some curses under his breath as he walked back to the room to do something. I laughed at him as I saw how nervous he is. But then, I wonder if I would ever meet his parents. I want to, but it's too selfish of me to do that when I know that they are not in good terms yet. I hope in time I will. I hope in time everyone will accept me for him because I also want to be right one for him. I want to be the right one for a Sage Otius Black. I walk inside the office building with a smile on my face. I still can't get over the fact that I am engaged to Sage. I keep thinking about it multiple times. Was it a rash decision? Was it something I shouldn't have agreed upon? But thinking of living without him makes me scared. I didn't like how it felt. I didn't like how dark life would be. Good morning, Miss Campbell. The girl in the elevator greeted me. I smiled at her and nodded before getting on it. I pushed the button and was about to close it when suddenly David came running in. I smiled at him as well. Good morning, David. David looked at me with a straight face. It is so untypical of him. He used to smile widely at me, even when I rejected him. He was still kind to me, but right now, I feel like he's not the David that I know. I wanted to talk to him, but I didn't want the other girl in the elevator to feel awkward. At the fourth floor, the woman got out and I was left alone with David. I heard him fake a cough before inhaling a deep breath. Is he the reason why you didn't accept my confession? He asked in a cold baritone. I looked at him with pursed lips. David, Sage and I don't want to hear any of your excuses. Heaven, I want to know if he's the reason why you couldn't accept me. His voice roared inside the elevator. I gulped and looked away. Yes, I shut my eyes because I couldn't admit it to him, face to face. I couldn't tell him that I didn't look at other men because I have someone else in my heart for a very long time that it shamed me. It shamed me that even after 5 years, I am still in love with the same person. How could I go on so miserable for 5 years when he's here? I don't know. All I know is that I couldn't give myself to someone I do not love. I couldn't stomach being with someone who's not Sage. I heard David inhale a sharp breath. Okay, he said. I looked at him, nervous with no reason. I want us to be friends still. I choked out. David narrowed his eyes at me. I don't know, Heaven. I want you to be my friend too, he said in a calm tone, but I can still feel how uneasy and frustrated he is. My heart is aching so hard. I knew David since I started working in here. He's one of the friends that I have. He's one of the persons that I trust since beginning to live the new chapter of my life. It's sad that I think the friendship between us is on the verge of turbulence because of my love for Sage. I hope not. If I can keep them both, I would. But if David wouldn't want me to be a part of his life anymore, it's not my decision to make. The elevator ding and stopped on the 8th floor. I'm sorry, I cracked as the door opened. David nodded and smiled weakly. I have to go, Miss Campbell, he said before leaving me alone in the elevator. "You did the right thing," Sage told me as we sat on his couch. He's stroking my back, trying to comfort me as I told him what happened between me and David. I looked at him and sighed. I know he's trying to make me feel better, but I can't stop thinking about it. "I should have told him back then," I said. Sage pulled me close to him and hugged me from the side. "It doesn't matter, baby," he said as he kissed my temple. I sighed and leaned my head on his chest. "Is it bad that I am actually happy that he's out of your life? I knew he has debts for you since the first time I saw him." I looked at him with narrowed eyes and he just shrugged. I hit his chest lightly, making him chuckle. "He's just my friend," I insisted. He laughed and nodded. "I know, baby, but he seems so into you. I cannot help but hate him," he replied. "He looks like he cares about you so much, it annoys me." I pursed my lips in a firm line. "That's because he's my friend," I said. He pinched my nose. "I know, heaven, but you can't stop me from worrying about you because you're my girl." My heart swelled at his words. For once today, I felt good about something. "I love you," I whispered as I kissed his lips. He said with his eyes closed. "Do not tempt me like this or else we wouldn't be able to attend the dinner your uncle prepared for me." I chuckled and stood up from his embrace. "Speaking of which, I have to get going and prepared for it," I said as I motioned to walk away from him, but he took my hand and pulled me to him, making me sit on his lap. He locked me in between his massive arms as he nuzzled on my neck. On second thought, "Can we bath together?" he asked. I tried wriggle out of his grip, but he tightened his arms around me. "Sage!" I croaked as I was starting to feel something else again. He hummed on my neck, sending me tremendous goosebumps. I bit my lip and tried to look at him. He lifted his head and stared into me with eyes full of unadulterated lust. He leaned closer and reached for my lips. I closed my eyes the moment our lips made contact. I opened my mouth and kissed him as passionate as I can. He adjusted me into his arms and caressed my cheek. He thrusted his tongue inside my mouth and I moaned at the sensation it sent me. His other hand roamed to my chest and cupped my breast. "Ah!" I moaned as his thumb found my nipple and played it against the thin cloth of my dress. His kisses traveled down my jaw to my neck. I tipped my head to the side to give him a better access on my soft spot. "Sage!" I moaned, almost voiceless. He hummed against my skin and I bit my lip in the electrifying feeling. "Let's prepare together," he asked as he carried me bridal style to the bathroom. He put me down slowly. I looked at him and saw him staring intently into me. He leaned down and gave me a searing and heated kiss. I wrapped my hands around his neck as he slowly unzipped my dress. He sluggishly removed my garments, making me die in anticipation. I removed his shirt and brought his pants down, together with his boxers. I held his huge member and pumped it in between my hands only to hear him groan. "Straddle me," he commanded, and I did what I was told. He then led me to the shower. He leaned my back on the wall for support as he turned the shower on. Hot water washed over us as he continued to kiss me hard on the lips. I could feel his huge length in between my legs, throbbing so hard as he deepened the kiss we shared. I grinned against his swollen member. making him moan against the kiss. He cupped my breast and placed on his mouth as my fingers rested on his wet hair. His tongue played against mine, making me arch my back at the sensation it gives me. Oh, Sage! I beamed as I feel knots of electricity on my bomb. He put me down and inserted his fingers into my womanhood. With his mouth still on my boobs, he thrusted his finger in and out of me in a fast manner, making me gasp and moan his name over and over again. I trembled and came into his finger as I reached my climax. He lifted his head up and looked deep into my eyes. "Let me wash you," he volunteered as he took the soap on his hands and rubbed it on me. I wanted to tell him that he can wash me sometime later and that I just wanted to feel him now, but he's already massaging my breast with his soap-filled hands. He pinched my nipples, making me wince in pleasure. He then bended and kissed me on the lips, while his hands are roaming around and spreading the soap all over my body. He circled his hands around my waist and pulled me closer to him. I could feel the tingles in my stomach as he romanced me with the soap and his hands. Damn! My hands went to his rigid abdomen and down to his massive masculinity. I rubbed his member up and down, making me moan against my lips. "I want you," I told him. "Ah, he muttered under his breath as he carried my butt and inserted his member into my throbbing hole. "Oh my! Ah!" I shut my eyes as I felt him whole inside me. He filled me to the brim and it's making me feel so full inside. He pulled my hair slightly and kissed me torridly. He thrusted his tongue inside my mouth several times before sucking my lower lip. "Move, please," I moaned as I couldn't take it anymore. He did what I told him and moved in and out of me slowly at first. I was moaning repeatedly and meeting his thrust one by one when he quickened his pace. I gripped on his shoulders as he took me against the wall. He supported my bottom as he deepened his thrust in and out of me. "I'm coming," I told him as we convulsed against each other, filling my insides with a mixture of our juices.